Okay, next is the turnaround document. It is a product document of one system that becomes a source document for another system. An example of that is a two-part bill or a statement, wherein one portion is the actual bill and then the other portion is the remittance advice. So, na-encounter na natin ito. Example nito is yung bill sa PLDT, wherein sa top portion niya, sa taas, nandun yung actual statement. And then sa baba, meron dong portion wherein napupunit siya na yun yung ibibigay mo naman kapag magbabayad ka. Kasi dun sa portion na yun, nandun yung mga important information na kailangan for your payment. Kaya siya naging turnaround document kasi bumabalik siya. So it was issued by the seller to the customer, but then the customer will return a particular portion of that document or maybe the whole portion. Pagdating naman 'di ba sa kuryente, yung buong bill yung binabalik natin tapos binibigyan na lang ng official receipt kapag nagbayad ka na. The reason for that is they want to know the information na naandoon sa document na yon. Kasi nga 'di ba minsan kadalasan ang nagiging problema pagka may nagbayad na customer, hindi na nalo-locate kung para saan bang bill yung ibinayad ng customer. Ngayon, kung may naka-attach na ganitong remittance advice, malalaman agad ng company kung para saang bill yung binayaran niya. Pero ngayon naman, tayo ay automated na. Kaya automatically, it is updated na in the system ng ng mga company. Pero may mga company kasi na gumagamit pa rin ng ganito because they are not yet fully automated. So, gaya nga ng sabi natin, it is used in manual system accounting records. So, kaya may mga ganito pang klase na document. Another one is the journal. Kasi 'di ba manual system accounting records tayo. So here in manual we are using journal and there are two kinds of journal, the special and the general journal. So you are familiar na rin with this one. You encountered this in your basic accounting. So the examples of special journal are the sales journal, purchases journal, cash receipts journal, and cash disbursements journal. So, alam nyo naman na kung bakit nagkakaroon ng mga ganitong klaseng journal para yung mga similar transactions na paulit-ulit din lang naman ang recording is nilalagay na on their special journal para ma-minimize na yung ah, dami ng pagsusulat o pag-e-entry. Kasi 'di ba for example, sa sales journal, ang isusulat mo na lang is the customer name and then the amount kung magkano ba yung sales dun sa customer na yon. Okay, so you've used it naman na in your basic accounting. And then, the general journal, dito naman natin ilalagay yung mga transactions that cannot be entered into the special journals. Example niyan are non-cash transactions that do not pertain to sales or purchases. Example of that are the returns. 'Di ba? Yung sales returns and allowances, purchase returns, and then the conversion of accounts payable into notes payable or accounts receivable to notes receivable. Ayan. So, yun yung mga nilalagay natin sa general journal. Ledger naman, there are also two types of ledger. The first one is the general ledger and then the second one is the subsidiary ledger. So, this is just a review. When we say general ledger, an example niyan is the accounts receivable or accounts payable ledger. But then, di ba, under this account, for example, the accounts receivable, marami tayong customer. Kunwari yung entity, meron siyang 100 customers. Doon papasok yun sa subsidiary ledger wherein each customer meron silang sariling account. Okay? Or pwede rin sa supplier na doon makikita natin, for example, for a company, magkano pa ba yung receivable natin for that specific customer. And then all of the balances of those customers will then go to the general ledger, which is the accounts receivable. So that is one of the example of that. So here is the flow of information from economic event into uh, the general ledger. So dito may mga namali sa quizzes eh. Kasi dun sa choices or dun sa nakalagay na manggagaling yung info sa financial statement, no? Hindi, from the transaction yun. Tingnan natin yung flow dyan. Ayan, no, yung customer's order, 'di ba? Ito yung sales order. So, ang sales order, ito yung tinatawag natin na source document. So, from the sales order, ipopost naman yan sa accounts receivable subsidiary ledger. For example, si customer A. Ayan, so i-update yung AR niya sa subsidiary ledger. Tapos yung sales order niya naman, gagawan niya ng journal entry sa sales journal. And then ipopost naman siya sa general ledger. So the general ledger, ito naman yung saan papasok yan? Ang general ledger dyan is the accounts receivable, di ba? Yan, periodically reconcile subsidiary ledger to general ledger. Ito yung manual. So, bakit siya kailangang i-reconcile? Ang reconciliation na ginagawa dito, for example, you have customer 1 to 10. You have to total the amounts of receivable from customer 1 to 10. Dapat yung total na yon ay match sa total amount na nakalagay sa general ledger. That is how you reconcile the subsidiary ledger to general ledger. So, gaya ng sabi ko, itong dinidiscuss natin ay manual pa rin. Ngayon, paano naman ang audit trail sa manual? So, ito na-encounter nyo na yung term na tong audit trail dun sa chapter 1. 'Di ba? Na it is one of the disadvantages pag distributed, 'di ba? Kasi nga nawawala yung audit trail. So here makikita nyo na ano ba yung audit trail. So ang audit trail kasi is accountants should be able to trace in both directions. Sampling and confirmation are two common techniques. So paano yun? Like this. So 'di ba from financial statements, you have there the summary of the amounts per accounts. Ngayon, if there is one account that you need to investigate or to audit, magbaback ka. Saan ka babalik? Sa general ledger. And then from the general ledger, babalik ka sa journal. And then from the journal to the source document. For example, ang sampling na sinasabi, di ba may nakita tayo dito ang sampling. For example, ang financial statement account na gusto mong i-audit is the accounts receivable. So, babalik ka sa general ledger wherein makikita mo dun yung summary of transaction ng accounts receivable. Okay? So, if you want to confirm, for example, ito nga ba talaga ang receivable from customer A? So, you have to go to the journal para matrace mo ano ba yung specific transaction that is recorded in the journal. And then, you have to go, from the journal kasi, you will see there the reference kung saan ba nanggaling yung entry na yon, which is from a source document. From there, mako-confirm mo na kung yun nga ba talaga yung balance nung customer na yon. Kasi 'di ba minsan um, baka mamaya may mga error. For example, 80,000 lang naman pala ang sales order but then yung na-record sa journal is 800,000. So, masyado nang malaki yung discrepancy. So, yun yung tinatawag natin na audit trail. Yun naman ay pag nagsimula ka sa financial statements, kino-confirm mo siya. Ano? ko-confirm mo kung tama ba yung amount na nasa financial statement. Here naman, from source document to journal to general ledger and then to financial statements naman. So, sabi nga, in both direction. Okay, so dito naman, magsisimula ka sa source document. Tapos, titingnan mo din kung tama ba yung nai-record hanggang mapunta sa financial statement. Okay. So, example of tracing an audit trail. For example nga, yung verifying of accounts receivable, wherein accounts receivable is the control account in the general ledger. And then under the accounts receivable control account, there are several accounts receivable subsidiary ledgers, which is the sum of all the customers receivable. Like I said kanina nga, kunwari 10 yung customer mo, so you will sum up all the accounts receivable of those 10 customers, and it should be matched with the total amount of the accounts receivable control account. And then here, it is divided into two, the physical and then the financial aspect. So, what is the physical aspect? So, these are the sales journal, the sales order, and the shipping notice. Kasi dito mo mavi-verify if nagkaroon nga ba talaga ng sales. So, from sales journal, ang source document niyan is the sales order and the shipping notice. Sales order, yun yung galing sa customer that they are ordering this specific product with this number of quantities. And then the shipping notice is the evidence that these orders were actually shipped to the customers. And then on the financial aspect, you will see the cash receipts, wherein the source documents of that are the deposit slip and the remittance advice. So, dapat yung naka-record sa cash receipt, supported siya with the deposit slip or remittance advice. It is the proof na ito nga talagang pera na ito is actually natanggap siya. Hindi lang siya naka-record basta dun sa cash receipts journal. So, that's the example of tracing an audit trail. So, kung mapapansin ninyo, ang audit trail ay mas madali kapag manual system kasi tangible yung mga evidences and documents, and then madaling mag-work back sa mga documents. So, paano naman kapag computer-based na yung system? So, here, in computer-based system, the audit trail is less observable than the traditional manual system because they are not visible and they are not tangible. Okay? So, the data entry and computer programs are the physical trail. So, ano ang kailangan mong i-audit dito? The data entry and the computer programs. Data entry is the input of data into the system. And then the computer programs, ito yung nagpa-process ng mga data na yon para maging report. And then the data are stored in magnetic files. Okay, so kung sa manual, ang mga data naka-store siya sa isang folder or sa isang cabinet wherein nakalagay doon yung mga resibo, yung mga invoices and sales order. Okay, here, it is stored in a magnetic file or database. So, what are the different examples of computer files? There are four. There are four types of computer files. The first one is the master file, transaction file, reference file, and the archive file. So, what is the master file? Here, master file generally contains account data. The example of that is the general ledger and the subsidiary file. Okay. And then, data values in the master file are updated from transactions. Diba? You can imagine naman na how the information flows here. And then transaction file, it is a temporary file containing transactions since the last update. The example of the transaction file are sales order, inventory receipts, and cash receipts. So, dito nga natin binibase yung magiging entry sa system. And then we have the reference file. The example of that, what is the reference file pala muna? It contains relative constant information used in processing. Example niyan, ito, tax tables. Sa pagko-compute, di ba, ng payroll, you need tax table in order to compute the amount of tax that should be withheld for a particular employee. Another one, when processing a customer's sales order, you also need the price list. Yan, that's also one of the example ng reference file. So that you will know how much ba yung total amount na kailangang bayaran ng customer. And also, you need to get the customer credit file. Ano naman ang info na kailangan mo dyan? Kung na-reach na ba nung customer yung kanyang maximum or yung credit limit na allowed sa kanya. So, as you can see, reference file nga, they are constant information na, kaya nga 'di ba reference. So, kailangan mo siya, itong mga information na to in order to process the, the recording of transaction. And then the archive file, these are, this is the past transactions, and it is also for reference purposes. So, what are the example of that? These are the journals, and then the prior period ledgers, or pwede rin yung prior period payroll. So, pag sinabi nating archive file, ano na to? Past transactions na ito. And you're using this only for reference. Okay. Next topic is the documentation techniques. Okay, 'di ba? Sabi nga, a picture is worth 1,000 words. 'Di ba? Kasi nga um by just looking at a picture, you can see many things. Na kapag inanarrate mo siya, marami ka ng words na magagamit. So the reason for documentation technique is para makita mo, kasi 'di ba pag naka-narrate lang, it is hard for you to imagine how the information flows within an organization. But if you will visualize it, you will use these documentation techniques, it will be much easy for you to analyze the information flows within the organization. And there are 5 common documentation techniques. So what are those? The first one is the entity relationship diagram, the data flow diagram, document flow charts, system flow charts, and the program flow charts. And we will discuss them one by one. We will discuss first the entity relationship diagram, or the ERD. So, a documentation technique to represent the relationship between entities in a system. So, take note of the word entities. Okay, so under the REA model version of ERD, which is widely used in AIS, there are 3 types of entities. So, what are those? The first one is the resources. So when we say resources, these are the cash and raw materials. And then the events. What are the events? These are the release of raw materials into production process. So ibig sabihin, ito yung processing, yung conversion of raw materials into finished product, the payment of customer of its outstanding balances, and the payment to supplier. So, these are the events. So, what are the agents naman? The agents naman are the inventory control clerk, the vendor, and the production worker. So, these are the persons that are involved in the processing of information. Okay. So in ERD, there are what we call cardinalities. So what are these cardinalities? So cardinalities represent the numerical mapping between entities. So there are three kinds of cardinalities. The first one is one-to-one, one-to-many, and then many-to-many. So let's discuss each of them. So here is the illustration of these cardinalities. The first one is one-to-one. The example here is one salesperson to one car type. Okay, so anong ibig sabihin niyan? 'Di ba minsan yung mga person as one of their incentive, pinapagamit sila ng sasakyan ng kanilang company. So, sa isang salesperson, merong isang specific car na para sa kanila. Kaya nga tinawag siya na 1:1. Maliban na lang kung may mga cases wherein yung salesperson ina-allow na gumamit ng maraming sasakyan. Pero napakadalang naman yun. Usually, there is one car for one salesperson. So that's why it is 1:1. Kasi naka-assign siya. 'Di ba? The reason for that is for accountability purpose. Mahirap kasi 'di ba kung iba-iba yung sasakyan na gagamitin ng salesperson, it will be difficult to trace kung sino ba yung kunwari nasira yung sasakyan, kung sino ba yung nag-cause nung pagkasira ng sasakyan na yun kung iba-iba yung gumagamit nung sasakyan. That's why naka-assign siya. So it is 1:1. Okay, the next one is one-to-many. Example of that is one customer can place many order, 'di ba? So, kaya one-to-many siya kasi a customer can place several order at a time. Okay? And then we also have many-to-many. Many-to-many, example that is a vendor may supply, many vendor supply many inventory. Yan, kasi 'di ba? For example, for one type of inventory, hindi lang isang supplier ang nagsusupply nun. Tapos yung isang vendor naman, hindi lang isang klaseng type ng inventory ang sinusupply niya. Kaya siya many to many. Okay, so that is the entity relationship diagram. The next one is the data flow diagram or the DFD. So here, DFD uses symbols to represent the processes, data sources, data flows, and entities in the system. So ito, mas broad siya kung ikukumpara mo siya sa ERD. Sa ERD kasi, yung relationship lang, yung cardinalities lang ang ini-illustrate doon. But here, in data flow diagram, it also represents the logical elements of the system, but it does not represent the physical system. Okay, so take note of that, ha. It only represents the logical elements of the system and not the physical element. Okay, so these are the symbols that are being used in data flow diagram. We have the entity name. When we say entity name, it pertains to like customer or supplier. And then the process description, ano yung mga example ng process description na yon? For example, ito, you have to ship the order, update the account, or receive the payment. So, nakita ninyo, yung logical representation lang ang pinapakita niya dito. Okay. And then data store name. So yan, dyan papasok yung entity name. Okay. And then direction of data flow. Dito sa direction of data flow, it shows kung paano ba yung magiging flow nung process description. Okay? For example, paano ba? I-ship ba muna siya? Tapos, di ba, saka mo i-update. And then, after mo ma-update yung accounts niya, magbabayad naman siya. And then, after niya magbayad, mag-update ka ulit. So ang ina-analyze mo dito is the flow of information. And then, DFDs are used by system analysts. Okay, because system analyst, ang gusto lang naman nilang maintindihan nga is the logical flow of the information system. Kaya kadalasan, ito yung ginagamit nila. Okay. The next one is the system flow charts. So, ito na, ririnig nyo na to. So, what is the system flow charts? So these illustrate the relationship among processes and the documents that flow between them. So dun sa mga dalawa na explain ko, mas detalyado itong system flow chart. Actually, it will show you the physical flow and the logical flow of the information system. Okay, next is it contain more details than data flow diagram, right? And then it clearly depicts the separation of functions in a system. Yun nga lang, dahil sa mas detalyado ito compared dun sa dalawa, mas mahirap din siyang i-prepare. Okay, so what are the simple symbol set for representing manual processing? So ito, pwede kasi nating gamitin ang system flow chart sa manual or digital records, and even computer programs. So, lahat ng klaseng information system flow, pwede natin siyang gamitin. So, here, you need to be familiar with the symbols that are being used in manual procedure. So, ayan yun. So, hindi ko na siya iisa-isahin. Okay. Okay. Flowchart showing stated fact 1 translated into visual symbols. So, dun sa textbook nyo, may binigay dyan na mga sample ng system flowchart. So, explain ko lang ito. So, here you can see this symbol. It represent the customer, di ba? And then the customer places an order. And then, when he places an order, ito naman yung symbol para dun sa process. And then, after that, the sales order will be prepared. And then, those sales order will have how many copies? 4 copies dito. Kasi nga, ano to manual ito. So, marami pa sa copies sila. And then the next one is the flowchart showing all stated facts translated into visual symbol. Okay. So here, you can see it is divided into 3 departments. The sales department, credit department, warehouse department, and then the shipping department. So you will see here the flow of information processing in the sales department. Okay? So, medyo maliit na. Ayan. So, papunta dito. So, this is just one example of a typical flow chart in a manual system. Kung mapapansin niyo yung sales order, ang dami niyang pinupuntahan. Ano? The sales order from the sales department will go to the credit department. Bakit ba siya pumupunta sa credit department? Because they have to check if pwede pa ba yung order. Baka nga kasi na-reach na nung customer yung maximum credit limit niya. And then after that, pag na-approve yan, ibabalik na naman siya. Papunta naman siya sa warehouse. So, i-check dyan kung meron bang supply, kung may inventory ba for that particular product. Tapos kapag okay naman, may supply naman, dadalhin naman siya sa shipping department wherein from there, i-ship na siya sa customer. Okay. System flow charts, so they are used to represent the relationship between the key elements, which is the input sources, programs, output products of computer system. So ito, kanina kasi manual yung tiningnan natin. Here, computer system na tayo. Okay, depict the type of media being used. So, gumagamit ba ng paper, magnetic tape, magnetic disc, or terminal. So, for now naman, itong mga magnetic tape and magnetic disc, hindi naman na siya masyadong ginagamit kasi iba na yung means of storage natin ng mga data. And then in practice, not much difference between document and system flow charts. Okay. So here are the symbols set for representing computer processes. Ayan. So, ito yung mga symbols na ginagamit.